Okay, so let's unpack this. We're talking about a cosmic near miss that, I mean, it holds the record for the closest flyby of a planet by a comet.
Right.
And yet, instead of, physical devastation, it resulted in this spectacular planet-sized light show.
hmm
But the story doesn't even end there because this whole scientific anomaly was allegedly and pretty precisely a fulfilled prophecy.
Yeah, today we are doing a deep dive into the data around Comet Siding Spring. The official designation is C2013A1.
Right.
And in October 2014, this comet made the closest approach to Mars ever recorded. It gave us this just stunning intersection of cosmology, high-energy plasma physics, and a very, very peculiar branch of esoteric prediction.
And our sources really detail the incredible characteristics of this whole encounter with Mars, the electromagnetic phenomenon that came out of it, and this unnerving claim that the entire event was charted a year before it happened.
Through a specific Bible code matrix, yeah.
So our mission today is really to synthesize these wildly different accounts, the hard science and this compelling prophecy, to try and understand why this event became such a lightning rod for attention.
And I think the central mystery we have to solve for you, the listener, is this. If the comet's icy nucleus missed the red planet by a pretty substantial distance,
Mm.
what exactly collided?
Right.
And maybe more critically, why was there such a huge contrast between the absolute silence from the space agency and the incredible evidence that was captured by amateur observers?
Okay, here's where we need to set the stage. Comet Siding Spring, it was discovered in 2013 by Robert McNaught down in Australia. And its trajectory was, well, it was immediately concerning because the early calculations showed it was headed directly for Mars. It finally reached its closest approach, its perihelion, on October 19th, 2014.
And we really need to emphasize the scale here for you.
Mm.
When we say closest approach, we mean the comet's nucleus was estimated to pass approximately 133,000 kilometers from the surface of Mars.
Which is about 82,600 miles.
Ex-
And 82,000 miles? I mean, that sounds like a lot of space.
It does.
Until you compare it to our own cosmic neighborhood. The distance from Earth to our moon is 238,900 miles.
So this flyby,
Siding Spring's flyby of Mars was achieved at roughly one-third of that distance. One-third the distance of the Earth to the moon. That is incredibly close in astronomical terms.
it was basically skimming the planet's atmosphere. I mean, if you were to try and visualize that gap between the comet and Mars, it was only about 9 or 10 Earth widths wide.
Wow.
That's barely a buffer when you're dealing with objects moving at these immense velocities.
And just to give you that necessary contextual measurement in space, at the moment it passed, the comet was 1.61 AU from Earth.
And 1.403 AU from the Sun. And AU, of course, is the astronomical unit.
Right, the standard distance between the Earth and the Sun. It's just the base measurement we
Yeah,
use.
it puts Siding Spring well inside our immediate neighborhood.
So the object itself is also really important for understanding the impact, right? Our sources refer to comets as these dirty snowballs.
Yeah, that's the classic term. A mix of frozen gas, ice, dust, some organic material. But the key here isn't the small physical nucleus. It's the atmosphere around it.
A coma.
The coma. It's this cloud of gas and dust that sublimates, boils right off the ice when it gets heated by the sun.
And the coma isn't small. It's vast.
Vaster than you might imagine. The coma, this huge energized cloud, can expand to reach the diameter of Jupiter,
The size of Jupiter.
the size of Jupiter. So it essentially becomes this massive, electrically charged magnetic sphere that surrounds the solid nucleus. And it's that magnetic sphere that was the real factor in this near miss.
Which brings us to the collision that wasn't, physical. When the code researcher Matthew Wright originally found the Bible code, he thought it meant the nucleus was going to hit Mars.
A direct impact.
But we know the physical core missed, so how did the code still hold true?
Because the respective magnetic spheres of the comet and Mars absolutely did collide. What we saw wasn't a kinetic impact. It was an electromagnetic event. A really deep interaction between the comet's vast charged coma and Mars's thin atmosphere.
And what was the observable result of that, this field-to-field interaction?
A massive plasma discharge.
The source material calls it an electromagnetic light show that basically lit up the entire Martian night side. But how do we verify a claim like that when the primary observers were silent?
Well, that's the crux of it, isn't it? A magnetic collision of this magnitude, it's predicted to induce these incredibly powerful atmospheric effects.
Like auroras.
Exactly, like spectacular planet-wide auroras, far beyond what we would normally see on Earth or even Mars. The gravitational pull from Mars could have concentrated the charged particles,
Yeah.
causing this sudden ignition or, a dramatic plasma charge. The energy release would have been vast.
And we have seen major celestial impacts before with huge energy releases. I mean, Shoemaker-Levy hitting Jupiter in 1994 comes to mind.
Oh, absolutely. And the sources make a point of noting that Comet broke into 21 pieces, 7 times 3, and hit Jupiter on the 9th of Av.
And for anyone unfamiliar, the 9th of Av is a major date of mourning and tragedy in Jewish history. It's traditionally associated with judgment, destruction.
The destruction of the temples in Jerusalem, for instance. So the sources use this historical context to frame Siding Spring not just as a scientific event, but as a potential sign. The key difference here, though, is that Siding Spring was a pure, non-kinetic electromagnetic collision.
Which is unique in the modern record.
Totally unique.
And that uniqueness makes this next part, the observation mystery, even more frustrating. You have this event that should have been the scientific spectacle of the decade, and all the cameras were rolling.
Exactly. NASA had a highly capable fleet of Mars orbiters positioned perfectly. You had MAVEN, the Mars Atmosphere and Volatile Evolution mission, which was specifically designed to study the Martian atmosphere and its interaction with the solar wind.
And MAVEN was practically built for this exact moment.
They were triangulated. They were right there between the comet and Mars with the absolute best vantage point possible.
And yet, almost no high-resolution pictures, no footage, nothing was released to the public detailing that moment of the magnetic field collision.
It was, as our sources put it, a near-total blackout on the kind of images you'd expect.
And that immediately fueled this skepticism that NASA recorded everything, but then made a conscious decision to keep the high-resolution, the planet lighting up footage, private.
And this is where the story shifts so dramatically. It goes from this multi-billion-dollar government space program to a single individual. While NASA was silent, the astrophotographer Dr. Fritz Helmut Hemrich, working from the Canary Islands, he managed to capture a few crucial seconds of the event.
A few seconds, that's all.
Just a few seconds. Our sources highlight that Dr. Hemrich captured the actual flash, the moment of electromagnetic ignition. It is, to this day, the only known confirmed footage of the plasma discharge as it happened.
I mean, that is just astounding. An amateur astrophotographer essentially outperformed and outshined NASA's sophisticated, triangulated, billion-dollar fleet.
It really raises a huge question.
It does. If this event was visible enough for a high-powered, ground-based telescope to catch the flash, why the immediate failure or refusal to release similar images from orbit? What did the official observers see that they couldn't immediately process or release?
It elevates the event from a scientific curiosity to a full-blown information mystery. And if we step away from the orbiters for a second and connect this back to more ancient interpretations,
Right.
the sources really emphasize that Earth had a phenomenal front-row seat
Yeah.
because we were directly aligned with Mars and the comet during the flyby.
So the whole spectacle is happening right along our line of sight. And traditionally, for, millennia, what have we believed comets represent?
They're almost universally seen as omens of doom or
Yeah.
major celestial portents. And given that this event involved Mars, the ancient Roman god of war,
Of course.
the sheer immensity of the spectacle, especially with these widespread claims of a planetary light-up, was interpreted by those in the prophetic community as a major signal, a punctuation mark for war to come, or, a sign of impending judgment.
And the sources even point to the comet's visible path from Earth. It was seen rising up through the constellation Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer. So you have the visual appearance, the planet of war, the incredible proximity. It all provides this potent mythological framework that goes way beyond the scientific data.
And that historical context of celestial omens leads us directly to the most provocative part of this entire deep dive. The claim that this event was predicted, not just interpreted after the fact.
Right. This is where Matthew Wright comes in, a Bible code researcher who, shortly after Siding Spring's discovery in 2013, found a specific table, a matrix, related to the comet. This is a full year before the flyby.
And his initial interpretation, as you said, was that the code was predicting a physical collision with the Martian surface. That, of course, turned out to be wrong.
But the code's validation came from the precise nature of what did happen.
Yes, the magnetic sphere interaction, the plasma collision. For the Bible code community, this success predicting the nature and timing of a record-breaking celestial event that was already mathematically linked to destruction, it lent significant new credibility to the whole equal letter spacing methodology.
And what makes that matrix so compelling is just the sheer density of relevant terms found using this equal letter spacing, or ELS, specific to Comet 2013 A1.
And they weren't vague terms. They were highly specific and thematic.
Yeah.
Look, we can break down the themes in the ELS terms mentioned in our sources. They sort of fall into three groups. First, you have the nature of the destructive event itself. You get terms like collides, ablaze, consume, stones of fire, and mountain of fire.
Which accurately describes an electromagnetic ignition and impact.
Perfectly. Then you have the second group, the explicit judgmental terms.
Like judgment and woe.
Judgment, woe, the destroyer. This ties directly back to that traditional mythological role of comets as omens. And finally, you get the celestial or maybe divine identifiers, the star, worlds, and the angel.
So the fact that such a dense cluster of specific related terminology appeared right in connection with the comet's identity and its resulting action is, statistically, it's highly unlikely to be random.
Highly.
And if that level of precision wasn't enough, we absolutely have to talk about the striking numerical coincidence that the sources highlight. The one that links Siding Spring to esoteric ideas centered around the number 666.
Right. So the sources point out that the time span from that critical date on the Mayan doomsday calendar, the winter solstice of December 21st, 2012,
It's a huge date.
to the comet's perihelion on October 19, 2014, was a perfect span of 666 days.
666 days exactly. Not rounded, no approximation. A perfect match between two vastly different prophetic timelines.
And on top of that, Mars itself is tied numerically to this idea. The sources highlight that the planet already has a 666 sols day count relative to our standard Earth sol day.
And we should probably clarify what a sol day is for you, the listener, because it's crucial for that connection. When we talk about a day, we usually mean the sidereal day, how long it takes a planet to rotate relative to the background stars. A sol day, or a solar day, is slightly longer because it has to account for the planet's movement around the sun.
Precisely. And because Mars orbits the sun once every 1.8 Earth years, its astronomical measurements inherently connected to this 666 count based on sol days.
Yeah.
So you have a planet historically linked to war and judgment, already numerically tied to 666.
And then this record-breaking plasma-generating event occurs exactly 666 days after a major date in another ancient prophetic tradition. It layers coincidence on top of coincidence.
It really does.
It's the ultimate synthesis of all this source material. You have a confirmed, record-breaking celestial event, the closest approach ever recorded, generating a spectacular planet-wide electromagnetic discharge, which was confirmed by independent amateur observation.
And that event is coupled with these incredibly powerful predictive and symbolic associations that were found beforehand in ancient texts, in ancient calendars.
So what's the essential takeaway here for you, the learner?
I think the takeaway is that this was an event that functioned as a unique billboard for Earth to notice. It forced a conversation that integrated multiple domains of knowledge. Planetary science proving the closest approach, plasma physics explaining the discharge, and prophetic study validating the predictive power of the codes.
And the fact that the amateur community had to be the ones to confirm the science because of the institutional silence, that only deepens the whole narrative.
It does.
So, what does this all mean for us? It means we witnessed a truly unique, predicted electromagnetic collision in space. It means the physical manifestation of the event was confirmed by one astrophotographer, while professional agencies with billions in equipment reportedly had nothing to share.
And it means a predicted collision did occur, just not in the physical way the researcher initially assumed.
Yeah.
It was a magnetic collision that fulfilled the prophecy. It suggests that the most compelling knowledge often lies in the connections between disciplines that modern science typically keeps separate.
Which leads us to our final provocative thought for you to mull over. If the speculation is accurate that NASA did, in fact, record the entire electromagnetic event with its perfectly positioned, triangulated fleet of Mars orbiters, the kind of footage that could visually demonstrate a planet lighting up from a magnetic collision, why was the decision made to indefinitely withhold this scientifically revolutionary high-resolution footage from the public?